Hi, a very good afternoon to all of you. Usually I get the, what I call it, this is the shift after lunch, so everybody's a bit more sleepy. So it's okay. Okay, anyway, the lunch was really good, so I hope you have a good time here as well. It's very, it's my honor really to be here in front of so many distinguished data science or data analytics practitioners, as well as we see so many top class sponsors as well, so that's really interesting. All right, so today I'll talk a little bit about how we use data to transform to do business really in Southeast Asia, and also we talk a little bit about Caro as well. Yeah. So data innovation in the golden era of AI. This is for BYTES. Okay, so what is Caro? Let me play a small video to show you what Caro is about. Okay, so Caro. Okay, so a little bit more about data. So, okay, I guess since after COVID period itself, everything is being digitalized. From everybody goes from buying stuff off physical shops to buying stuff off online. A lot of people have buy stuff online, I believe, and almost every day on a daily basis. So with digitalization and stuff, what happens is that there's a lot more data point available, right? So Caro was started in 2016, but during COVID period itself, it's actually where we actually make tremendous growth by tapping on these online data points. So my own personal philosophy is as follows. I feel that data points are basically important and useful in generating transactions, all right? And every transaction generates even more data point. For example, I sell a car, I will find out, which customer bought my car from me, what's the age, what's the gender, what sector that she belong to or he belong to, what's he using a car for, kind of stuff, and then, how much loan does it take, what's the insurance premium, and so on and so forth, right? There's a lot of information that's actually encompassed in one single transaction. And that data, that information can be used by us to generate even more transaction going forward. So I think what's interesting about data science is really the chain effect that result when data point result in transaction, result in more data point, result in even more transaction. So it's pretty much similar to how the chain effect works in nuclear reactor, that kind of stuff, right? That's actually where I get my primary training. However, in the world that we live in itself, although the theory is that simple, things are really not that simple. There are a lot of things, a lot of problems that can arise, that can emerge from the use of data. I'm quite sure all of you have, most of the people who have worked with data will have problem with even data cleaning, or data not being encompassed in transaction, and then how to make a more comprehensive data structure. So I believe actually data science, data engineering, they're all very important to create the insights, by the data analytics people. So actually, just one whole close family of people who work with data, really. So today's presentation itself, I will go through briefly at least 3 points. What's Caro? How are the kind of innovation that we do with data? And lastly itself, I will talk about some of the factors behind data science and how to make it useful. Yeah. Okay, this might be a bit boring. So history, we started in 2015-16. And then we started finance to support our business. So we actually started off with trying to do a peer-to-peer marketplace for car. But peer-to-peer transaction is generally very difficult to accomplish. Because a lot of, there's a lot of immobility on both buyer and seller side. So it's like that, okay, then we have to go beyond peer-to-peer transaction to actually we running the transaction itself. And then we realized, oh, to run a transaction itself, there are other things that need to come in as well, including finance, where car is a big ticket item, very high GMV, right? Yeah. And then, of course, as we do it, as we build a suitable model, they decided to scale. We scale into Indonesia and Thailand. So currently, I'm running Indonesia as well. So probably 2 hours later, I'll be flying back. Okay, so and we started to raise funds in 2018, 2020. And that's when we first become, we gather $1 billion valuation. And now we are about double of that. And and that's how we started, Caro. So Caro is it's a Singapore homegrown company, entirely, well, not entirely, but founders are all Singaporeans, and basically, everybody have very local base. So what we try to do is we try to, approach this by creating a good data culture, a good data practice, and then try to use the data-inspired way of selling cars and bring it over to other countries. And that's where we are right now. All right. Okay. So I think one reason why data and why data science and why, of course, data products are becoming more useful actually because of COVID-19. We really thank COVID-19 for this. Okay, that's a really big change, right? That when everything becomes digitalized, and people say, oh, everything can be digitalized. How about drawing some insights from this data? Yeah. So COVID-19 is very important. Of course, with digitalization itself, that means there are a lot of data. So how to handle it, how to process it, what to even use become important. Okay. So personally, I feel that data people and business people need to work closely together to get the correct business insight, because that's what a meaningful data product is. It must deliver impact. It must deliver impact to either the bottom line or the top line, right? Of course, generally itself, I feel that impacting on the top line itself it's more impactful. Why? Because top line, there's no limit, right? You can grow your business 2 times, 3 times, 10 times, 200 times, right? Whereas bottom line, you use it to reduce cost. It's also useful, but then there's a limit to how you want to do it. So if you want to do a data science project itself, try to think of how you can improve the top line of your respective business. I think that will be more impactful. And of course, then gain more traction with the management. All right. So, data. So how do we do this? So generally itself, we actually build most of our stuff in-house on our own, and we actually transform our business one algorithm at a time. Basically, you just find a very simple way of doing business, and then we just scale it. I give an example. So, for example, so we will look at data and say, hey, what is the time when people start to look at cars? Do people look at cars on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Does they look at time, or which time zone do they look at time? Look at cars. Do they look at cars on the evening, or in the morning, or during the afternoon? And this also shape our data strategy on when to even things like do our SEM or do our Instagram boosting, etc. kind of stuff. So these are things that we think about as actually getting. So this is a very small one, very small sector, sure. Then we do this, then we do the next one, and so on and so forth. So we use data to look at every single facade of our operation, and we think about how we can improve it using data. So I think that's how useful it can be. I mean, everybody can go and check, how often do people click on your Instagram post or your social media, and what time do they do that, and that actually helps you run a better business even, right? And move your advertising dollars. So for us itself, so there are 4 businesses that basically Caro currently run. So we use data to improve our marketplace. So where the main challenge is to connect the right people to the right car, right? Not every car is suitable for everybody, be it from a price point of view, from the car type point of view. Some people, a big family, prefer SUV, MPV, where some people with smaller, single, they prefer comfortable, etc. Right? So how do you connect it to the correct customer at the right price? How do you reach out to customer? How do we use SEM? How do we use marketing to actually reach out to the correct customer? Who are the clientele are targeting? If we target this clientele, do we have sufficient car to sell? I mean, all these are the things that we actually go through our mind when we actually make a decision, and all of these are actually governed by data, right? Besides this itself, we also look at financing and insurance. Now, for financing itself, different countries do it very differently. So in Singapore itself, we have a very robust system called the SingPass. So everybody, you go to SingPass, basically, what's your income, what is your salary, etc. So on. We know whether you're credit worthy, what's the credit score, right? Doesn't really apply to other countries. So I function predominantly in Indonesia. It's less robust there. So yeah. So again, making use of data is very important. When we look at people as well, collect data about where they live, where they work, and so on and so forth. We do site visits. So data collection is different in different places. It's something that we also need to understand as well. It's difficult to apply the same product to different countries without tweaking. We always do quick tweak and customize a bit. But anyway, financing and insurance is also another facade that we do. Another thing we do is after sales reconditioning of car. Again, different countries have different reconditioning standards. Different people have different reconditioning requirements. Some people just want to repair the car so you can finish at the end of the COE. COE in Singapore is a 10-year concept. So if you're on a 9-year, you really don't spend 100K on a car because on a 10-year, it's no longer there, right? So whereas the other country itself, the lifespan is also different, right? And then, of course, we look at subscription. So we actually also started a Netflix for cars. So basically, you join our program yourself. You're able to, so in the first 6 months, first 3 months, you want to drive car A. You can drive car A. And then after that, you want to say, I want to try something else. You can always try something else. So advantage of this, a lot of people use this for like electric car, for Caro. So if you're not sure whether an electric car suits your lifestyle in terms of charging, you want to take a subscription first and see whether you're able to cope with it. If not, after subscription, during a subscription, you can change it to other cars that is more suitable for you. So that's what we're looking at in the product point of view. Now, collection of data. Okay, this is a very brief summary of some data that I collected. Of course, we collect marketplace data. How many cars I sell, how many cars I buy, who buy the car, who sell the car, when do they buy the car, when do they sell the car, and so on and so forth, right? After that itself, this is also to facilitate loan approval, where's the best place to do loan, etc. And then we actually also look at collecting images of cars. So if there are scratch or dents as well, we are able to inspect them uniformly across different countries. So we actually increase the standard of operation in different countries just by looking at inspection of car. Because everything is done by computer, OpenCV, so we do our own module, and then we embed in our own product, and we use it on our own app. Yeah. And then we even go as far as to, during COVID period itself, we even, with the use of C++, we do some embedded programming, and we're actually able to also allow cars to unlock and lock cars remotely, all kinds of cars. So it's quite useful because this allows us to sell cars in shopping malls. So in the past, shops tend to be constrained. The economic activities tend to be within the geographical boundary. So if I open a shop in Queenstown, I can only do Queenstown business, right? But now, if I'm able to lock and unlock car anywhere in Singapore, then basically I'm no longer confined by geography on where I can do business. So this also affects top line. But this is really more of an engineering project rather than a data science project. But cool. We can still see when people open and unlock and view cars, etc. And then lastly, it's our personalized insurance. So this is a project that we run in Indonesia. Because basically, and this really have to do something about technological advances. Because if you look at cars itself, nowadays, when you buy insurance on cars, insurance tend to be packed on three main factors. So first one is how old you are, your age affect your premium. Gender affect our premium. And then lastly, years of driving experience. This affect our premium. However, in the future, when we have autonomous cars, then will it really matter? Your age or gender when the car drives itself. So of course, as technology progresses itself, the data we collect also changes. The technology itself also changes. The way you insure driving will also change. That makes sense, right? That makes sense. Right? It will be the accident is not because of you; it's because of Tesla, not being able to control its driving or not having good algorithm, also and so forth. So things will change. Things will change fundamentally, and as the saying goes, right? Change is permanent. No, eventually, we will have autonomous car, right? Eventually, insurance will no longer be based on the driver, but be based on usage. Like the more you use, the more insurance you pay, which also seems quite fair, right? And also depend on time you use. Maybe a peak hour for insurance usage, where there are more accidents, right? Most accidents occur at night, right? So then the insurance premium at night should also be higher. So this is the kind of thinking that we apply to also in terms of how we do our product, and that's how we build slowly towards a future where there is autonomous driving. Yeah. Okay, of course, this is also made possible because of EV. As well, EV collect a lot of data as well. Electric vehicle will collect a lot of data, charging data, we have to charge, etc. So all these are useful to us. When we look at data, always look at data point and think about how can this data increase our top line, and just try to be a bit creative in that aspect. Okay, so besides pricing itself, we also do vehicle insurance, which I just talked a little bit about, and vehicle financing. And then for reconditioning itself, we use technology, use data to actually help to improve the efficiency of reconditioning. Now, reconditioning, okay, probably not so sexy, right? But it's like, how do I say this? In a reconditioning center or in a car workshop itself, there are many different parts. So maybe we start with inspection, then we go on to engine repair, body repair, painting, waxing, and you complete the whole journey, right? So having data analytics running through this system also help to improve the system operationally. Like for example, I know, let's say I've got 8 stations within this recon workshop. I know how many people is in station A, how many people are going to station B, what's the backlog in station C and D, and so on and so forth. And not only I know, not only management know, but also people on the ground also know. So let's say I'm on station F, I know that I have no business for the next, or no car coming into me for the next 1 hour. I can probably go and help out in station A first. And later on, station A colleague, at the end of the day, can go and help out in station F. Because at the end of the day itself, everything will be at station F. And that's how we look at improving operation, also with the use of data. So data science need not be very, overarching, new business, or blue ocean. It can also be very down to earth, improving operation, making sure that every man hour, more output is being produced. Yeah, those also works. So with our computer vision, which I just mentioned, we also do some inspection, and actually this really bring down the car inspection time 80%. Because in Indonesia, people can really take 3 hours to inspect one car. Then we bring it down, and then the inspection personnel actually bring down by 4 times. And also this increases our customer sales as well. But you will be surprised, customers are also people with so sometimes people will say, they walk to our showroom, they want to buy a car, they want to trade in a car. We have to make sure that the trade inspection occur within the time frame of them shopping for a new car. Cannot take too long. They will go for lunch, they will probably cancel the appointment, and so on and so forth. So a conversion rate of sales also depends strongly on how we use data science on a normal level as well, or in this case, computer vision. So with that itself, other innovative product that we have built is like Showroom Anywhere, where we talk about it just now. We say that you're able to have a showroom anywhere in, so you expand beyond your geographical region. And then we have usage-based insurance. So basically, the more you travel, the more you use. The more you travel, the more you pay. Oh, but probably the better way to say is the less you travel, the less you pay. So we have usage-based insurance, yeah. And we also some EV leasing, EV fleet, yeah. So we allow people to try and commit before they commit. And we also do some green financing as well as part of our ESG trust. So financial year 2023 itself, this is basically roughly our real number. I think we are looking at about 2 times year-on-year revenue growth, 3 times year-on-year GP growth, and our GP margin about 9%, and EBITDA positive. Yep. And we have sold, for the year of 2023, more than 120,000 cars sold and financed across the different regions in Asia. So this is how data allows us to scale our business. I think it's on one of these paper cutting. Anyway, yeah, that's where I cropped from. Okay, so basically itself, to sum up, I realize my time is running out. To sum up itself, I think my worldview is that there are actually 4 currencies in running a tech enterprise. Capital, you need capital to do this. It's quite capital intensive, especially at the beginning. You need people, you need talent. For people itself, I think when I talk about talent itself, I'm talking about actually everybody who is willing to try to work hard at inputting data, even cleaning data. Everybody is talent. Looking at like the whole company, whole people need to be inspired to actually want to do this in order for this project to take off. Of course, you need time to run this project. So myself, I also sometimes I'm very patient. I'll ask my staff, why is it taking so long? But actually, to run a good data science project, there's a lot of iteration that need to happen. We're looking at maybe, let's say, easily anything you see, any product that you see, probably there's like 40, 50 iteration kind of stuff. And probably take place over a whole span of 1 year. Of course, you can do a POC within 2-3 months. But even then, the POC is probably not of a good enough standard for deployment. So it takes time to build out. So luckily for us, COVID was a time whereby we got time to actually think about stuff, right? And lastly, it's our data. So for data itself, it's important to take a look at data. Maybe change the data structure if need to encompass more information, and also things like include data cleaning, data engineering as part of essential to data. I give an example why. So sometimes when I look at data itself, people tell me, hey, Bryan, it's just buy and sell price. But buy and sell itself is also not just buy and sell. Buy and sell also have difference. For example, you go to a shop, you buy and sell, you look at the sales number. But looking at the sales number is not enough without looking at the promotion, right? I could sell more during this period of time at this price, but maybe there is a promotion. I can look at the credit card, promotion, etc. So all these things also need to be encapsulated in. So a rigorous data structure itself, which is probably the beginning of all data science product, is probably not as easy as people say. So yeah. So I think data. So I actually applaud all of you. I think data science is not an easy path, and data analytics, data science, data engineering, all these are actually hard work. And so I think all of you are also pretty rigorous in pursuing this path. So really, yeah, good luck, and we all get there eventually, right? Okay. So at this point, I'm not sure whether there's a question session. Do they have any questioning session? If not, then anybody have any question? I'm just wondering whether it's the way they do it. Yeah. Hi.
Yes. We got a person right across over there.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Santosh. I'm from Siemens Healthineers.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thank you, Bryan, for that presentation. A question I had was regarding you talked about this 160-point inspection using AI. Could you give a little brief on when you say inspection by AI, how much of human factor, how much of real AI, and because AI tends to be biased. So how did you develop the model, and how do you work with it really?
Okay, that's a very good question. Thank you very much. So basically, it's so in OpenCV, what we do is that we look at identifying features, and we try to we look at features in terms of scratches, dents, and so on and so forth. So basically, we go around the car and look at the scratch and the dents that actually occur in the car. So all these are features we train for, right? One particular problem that I encountered at the point of time is that, of course, different cars look different under different lighting, right? So reflection also covers the scratches sometimes. So I also need to train for reflection as well, Then, of course, I also run into the problem where people tell me, Bryan, actually scratch and dents are important, but other issues that they face, particularly in countries like Indonesia, where flooding occurs quite common. So, then we also need to look at undercarriage itself. When you look at undercarriage itself, then, sometimes we also look at engineering to help us solve the problem. So what we do is that we build small like cars, like stuff that goes underneath. So, it sort of like give a one screw on whether there's rust spot. Of course, I'm not going to say that, it's very possible to deceive AI. Very, very possible. You ask anybody who build eKYC software, people put a mask, you're that person, kind of stuff, right? So it's very possible to deceive AI. It's true. But we are just saying that it works maybe 80% of the time. Yeah, it works 80% of the time. Yeah. Of course, yeah, that's what we do. Correct. Any other questions? Okay, the gentleman at the back.
Hey, Bryan, fascinating conversation. This brought back memories of one of the data analytics predictive models we did back in the 90s for United Airlines, where we were predicting equipment failure for large aircraft. Of course, back then it wasn't called data analytics. The question I have was, have you ever considered using Internet of Things, sensors, or maybe you're already doing it and you haven't shared it with us? But I was wondering how cool it might be to plug in a bunch of sensors across the car and plug it into your model and then have it continuously gather data and then have you analyze and predict failure, right? I don't know if it's a very techie kind of question but this question popped in my mind because many aircraft engines, I'm an aviation guy, right? Many aircraft engines have sensors, and you'll be surprised at how much sensor data aircraft can actually generate. So with that same analogy, I hope you will consider this question.
Thank you very much. Yes, I like your question a lot. So one of the people who inspired me was actually Rolls-Royce. So like what you say, Rolls-Royce actually do a lot of jet engine, and they test for the structural stability of their product by using vibrational spectroscopy. So basically, the vibration should be of a particular standard, because it need to be in the sky and survive, being in the sky, right? So that was also some of the thesis that I took from to think about my product when I create them. However, this actually is very useful for new cars. Because for new cars, you want to make sure our cars are produced to the same SOP, same standard, paint thickness equally thick for every new car that come out of your factory. So that is actually very useful for that. But for me itself, because fundamentally I do a lot of used car of different conditions itself, so therefore vibrational spectroscopy wasn't really employed there. That it was part of the thinking process, but yeah, not enough used car. Probably it can work in countries whereby there are one or two model of car that dominate the market, kind of stuff. It happened in like Indonesia, maybe there are a lot of Toyota, but still, if I think about the car market itself, it seems to me like a complex matrix that you can use tensor to describe, because you got maybe say 10 makes of car, Toyota Camry, Toyota, BMW, Mercedes, etc. 10 makes of car. Then you probably got 10 model of car, Toyota Vios, Toyota Camry, Toyota Alphard, Toyota blah blah blah. Okay, and then you got different years, right? You got different years because you got 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and so on and so forth. So this matrix become very large. So with the white variable itself, sometimes cannot apply. We find it difficult to apply constant method to analyze across a whole 3x3 matrix. Yeah. All right.
Anybody else for any questions? Anybody else? Feel free. We have a gentleman across over there. We can take one more question, and we begin with the next.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, so my name is Singaram. I come from the robotics and precision engineering industry. I'm just curious, what advice would you have for using predictive maintenance for this type of factory automation and industrial equipment, as well as robotics? Yeah. Both for the hardware side and the software side, if you have any recommendations based on your own journey. Thanks.
Okay. Hi, Sigaran. I think that me giving advice on this might be teaching, might be out of, I think I'm not in the same league as y'all who have probably do this on a daily basis and probably much more experience compared to me. But I guess, I think when it come to actually things like maintenance itself, it started off with a very simple Poisson distribution when we were in school, kind of stuff, this thing break within 2 years, and so how is the probability of this thing breaking within 1 year, and so on and so forth, right? So the way I look at predictive maintenance itself is that how it really depends on what product you're looking at. For example, let's say street lamps. Okay, I could build a sensor to look at street lamps to see when it starts to deteriorate. So maybe when we look at the IV characteristic no longer behaving ideally, IV means current voltage differences behaving ideally, right? You can have a sensor there to test. But then it really depends on how cheap I can build my sensor. So if my street lamp costs me $3 and my sensor costs me $10, then I probably want to just replace my street lamps every 6 months, and everything else go under amortization kind of stuff. Because the thing about predictive sensor is that not only you need to maintain the equipment, the street lamp, you also need to maintain the sensor. So it's like, then you're actually adding additional work. But it really depends, right? So if you look at maybe aircraft where the risk of failure, the cost is too high, the cost of failure is too high, then you probably need sensor. So I guess it depends on what product you're looking at and how, whether it's cheaper to actually just, do a repair, do a general replacement after X months, or to actually put sensor there. So that might be my answer. But of course, I think you are definitely more experienced in me in this aspect. So probably, you probably know better. Probably I can ask you for advice as well. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me, and I hope that you have fun for the rest of today and tomorrow. And look forward to seeing you around. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big hand to Mr. Bryan Tan. Also as well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, would like to say a big thank you to
Thank you very much.
Bryan as well leads technological innovations in Kairos, not only in Singapore, but Southeast Asia operations for all the various countries.